Okay, so we're gonna make some changes here on the channel. I was talking to my brother John this morning and he said, hey, what was up with that picture yesterday? I said, what are you talking about? What happened to the amps? I said, what do you mean? He said, they're gone. Did you sell them? I said, what are you talking about? I just saw you 2 days ago in New York. I didn't sell I would have told you if I sold the amps. So, no, I did not sell them. But you'll notice if you look in the background that the amp wall is gone. Now, that's not the only change that's happening. There's a reason for that, actually. Because of some of the interviews I've been doing, the one-shots with the people, you know, where I'm shooting them, I'm shooting this way, I thought, let's try some different angles because it kind of drives me nuts that I don't have different angles and I want them to look good, right? So to make things look good, everything has to be in balance. Whether you're telling a story, whether you're doing anything, balance is incredibly important. If you're playing a guitar solo, it needs to have a beginning, a middle, you know, a climax and an ending to it, right? Everything needs to have balance to it. Now, when we talk about balance, there's also visual balance in it. So when I look at my shot, it drives me nuts because I'm kind of neurotic this way, just like you can tell I am now. If you look at the guitars and the pedals, let's just start here. Look at this pump organ that's here, okay? You don't normally see that. I moved it there because it looks cool. Just look at the negative space between here and the picture. That's really important to me. Also, if you look at how this is lined up, and then these universal audio pedals are lined up here. Now, I have my John Lennon Abbey Road thing here, but I used to have my plaque here, but that caused so much reflection, it drove me nuts. Okay, then let's talk about the guitars. So if you look at the guitars, they're all at this level here. And then I have these lamps in the background that you always see, and they're kind of weird looking lamps, but I don't have them at the same height because I want the windows to look like they're kind of going to a vanishing point in the corner, right? Because I think it makes for a good composition of the shot, right? So it continues back here. Now these drive me a little bit nuts. I have these two acoustics that are too high. Now I know you guys know that I'm kind of neurotic about stuff like that, but these are a little too high, but they look cool there. Then you come up here, the Leslie cabinet's basically the same height. We have this light that shines here and kind of illuminates the chord. Now, I have my Ernie Ball string boxes here, which I didn't necessarily mean for them to be in the shot. And then we have the amp wall, or the amp non-wall, I guess it is now. So this always drove me nuts, honestly. It became such a signature of the channel that I didn't know what to do because I was like, I like the red wall behind it, the burgundy wall, because I think it looks good and it looked good in the shot. But when I shoot this way, if I'm interviewing someone, you have this monstrosity. So you have to be so far away from it that it has to be out of focus. If you're too far in the room, it just takes over the whole thing. And that drove me nuts. And I felt like, oh man, I'm kind of locked into it. But then I just said, okay, let's take these things down. And we just moved them in the other room. Okay. If you notice, the amps are basically the same height as the guitars in the other part of the room, okay? Now, this door here, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but you already think that. So this door is always open. The reason it's open is to create this extra distance into this room where I have more amplifiers set up. It's also, so I'm storing the amps in there, okay? And then I have this big monstrosity bass amp here. Now, I don't know what to do with that, but it's kind of out of the shot, so it doesn't bug me that much, but it weighs 92 pounds, plus this thing weighs about 100 pounds, so it's hard to move. That's the only place I can figure out to put it. Okay, now we need places to sit in the studio, right? So I have this couch here, didn't used to be here, and this kind of bugs me. I love the John Lennon painting, but the negative space here is too big, right? You don't even see it in the shot. Why does it bother me? I also, as Tom, who's holding the camera, and John, this is John Farr here, as John will attest to, I'm a freak about having the doors closed. I like the doors closed, except for that door and that door. But this door is always closed, and that door over there is always closed because I can't think straight if they're not open. Okay, so if you come over here, I added this thing that's actually a glass whiteboard that I'm going to eventually use, but it shines, it's too shiny here, so I can't shoot this way. So I had to put these things from Abbey Road over it in the time being until I get a white background for it. Okay, this amp, why is this here? Because otherwise there'd be a weird space, okay? And if you catch it out of some shot, you'll say, okay, there's an amp there, makes sense. This table I bought, not with Tom's marble loaf that he ate half of. Tom, for real? Now Tom knows that drives me nuts, that there's like a half-eaten thing on the table, but that's okay. And then, of course, Tom's notebook. I never know what he writes, but he just writes stuff in it constantly. And here's the thing that's really bad is that I have my coffee sitting here on this table that doesn't even belong in here, but I usually bring it in the mornings when we have our morning meetings. And that doesn't belong here. Now, the only place that's a real mess is my desk. It's a mess. Tom's keeping track of what videos we have edited, that we're editing and stuff like that. But I don't know why, but my workspace can be messy. It's just this thing, right? And then if you look back here, it starts to get neat again. All the pedals are nicely arranged and everything. This is a shot that you don't typically see. My piano's back here. My microphones could be, Tom, you'll fix those later. They could be fixed a little bit better, neater like that. But that's pretty much kind of the things that I am always thinking about. Now, John and I were talking. Wait a minute. I need to acknowledge Tom. Because Tom is filming here. Let's see here. How do I do this? Can I just hit this? Hold on. It says record anyway with low battery. Yeah, I'll record anyway. So that's Tom. Tom's filming. What's up? That's John. I can sit down here. So John and I were talking earlier. We have these kind of strange conversations about fonts. We all talk about this stuff, like what looks good on a thumbnail. John, tell them your theory on this.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about this, but it's the exact same thing. You've got like your cap height, your ascender height, descender height, and then I would call this like the X height of the room, where everything has sort of a shared balance. But it's all balanced. The same thing we were talking about, like, I mean, mixing is baking, basically, right? Like, it's all about ingredients, amounts, the ratios, all that kind of stuff. But it's like the same sort of creative constructs across different disciplines. It's weird. You get this sort of like synesthetic thing going on between all these different things.
And I obsess about having a bold font. If I'm going to have two fonts, I never have more than two fonts, but I'll have a bold font and a thin font together. Yeah. Mixing bold fonts does not look good. Now, I also like rectified fonts, especially for thumbnail titles, because they're easy to read. When I say rectified, John, that does mean sharp edges, correct?
Yes.
I like rectified fonts. Now, you'll notice in my titles, though, I use more fun titles in the thing that kind of whatever it's called, old school or whatever.
Yeah, but it's funny, like no matter what the tone, it's just as obsessive. Like y'all would be amazed to see the kind of conversations we have, the deep dives on like 30-second videos. We will have these animated arguments about like which emojis to put over which rock stars' faces.
John is an emoji guy. I'm not big into emojis, and I told John no smiley emojis anymore, but they do work occasionally.
We got to rein them in.
So I want to go next to another person that's really important to this operation that we'll talk more about what's changing here. Okay, so those of you that have been watching this channel for a while would know the person sitting next to me. This is Ken Lanyon, or GL as we call him, Grand Lanyon. Yep. He's been working with me since 2000 or 2001. I can't even remember. It's been so long. It's been a quarter of a century.
2000.
Yeah. He was working at this place, Tree Sound. It was the first studio I ever worked at on my own. He actually just got put with me because the studio manager said he's going to be great for you. And then,
even though he didn't want to work with me, he said, "What does that guy know about rock music?"
Because he had short hair. Little did I know that he knows more about rock than anyone, which is pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
So we are still working together. He's been in many of my videos. Anytime that there's any recording going on, if we're recording drums for the top 20 drum intros of all time, pretty much anything that involves recording, my Stairway to Heaven video, Greg Bissonette coming in recording drums, he's actually in the control room recording it, or any of the interviews that we do here. He records all the audio in the control room. Yep. We've been making some changes over the course of the last few months or so. Redid the floor in the control room. We had our patch bay credenzas, the things that hold the gear, restained, that he built, because they're really expensive. Go to Home Depot and we'd buy the stuff. Didn't you copy one of your friends?
I did. My friend Corey made me a rack back in '97, and we took the exact same dimensions off that and made racks out of it.
We've been kind of preparing to make some records. We're actually working on a billionaire record with my band that we've recorded. I think we're like 5 or 6 songs in or so that we'll release sometime this summer. You know, you can expect to see some more recording music videos on here. And I'm really excited about that. And it's fun to have GL back doing this more regularly. He's been coming in a few days a week. That's what's going on. I just wanted to come on and make a video about that. The other thing I wanted to say, I don't want to put my little call to action in here, but hit the subscribe button. I have been saying that 57% of the people that watch the channel are not subscribed. So hit subscribe. It helps a lot.